Hey, what's up everybody? We're going to be looking at the best new Steam games today as of February 2nd, 2018, and also all of January's games and new releases on Steam. I put all these games into different categories. You can see the timestamps below in the description or in the comments for mobile. Enough of me talking, let's get to the games. Let's just go ahead and start off with the best of the best, which of course has to be Subnautica. I won't talk about it too long because everyone knows about it. Steam has been promoting the heck out of this game, but for good reasons. It is probably the best exploration survival game that you'll find out there with amazing underworld biomes and different looking creatures. Steam must really be praising these developers a ton because this is one of the only few early access games that has sat in early access for years, come out and done even better than it did in early access. At $25, it's still a great deal. This next section of game is our most popular new releases, the Steam games that had the most players after it was released. First up is Railway Empire that hit 2,700 players at once during its release. This game takes place in the 1830s where you have to start up your own railway company, beat out the competition, and make your train stations better than anyone's. A lot of people are saying this is one of the best simulation games out there, and if you love building and tycoon games, then this game is going to be so much fun for you. The only real complaints I've seen is its hefty $50 price tag, and the AI of the game is pretty terrible and needs some updates. My good friend Latana Army did a great gameplay video of this, and I'll link it below in the description if you want to check it out. Next up is Dragon Ball FighterZ, which came out with a ton of hype, even hitting 44,000 players at one time. Since I've been a kid, Dragon Ball definitely has to be one of the staples of all fighting games, and they definitely did not disappoint in this new one. If you're a fan of Dragon Ball Z games, then you'll probably have to get this game. The only thing that might be deterring you is its $60 price tag. The only negative feedback on Steam is really its online public lobbies that need to be updated to add more space and private matches. Originally released in way back when of 2006, Final Fantasy XII has now been remastered and released on Steam. This was probably one of the most loved Final Fantasy games of all time, which probably helped it to get to its 4,000 player peak when it was released. Number 12 was one of the most loved Final Fantasy games because it was the first to introduce an open world and gambits to the battle system. You can now play it on PC with updated graphics and sounds. Although there weren't a ton of new free games released this month that were that great, some of you guys still have $0 in your pocket and are wondering what was released that I can now be playing. First up is Poolians, a game that, well, represents playing a pool table. I don't know why this game is so popular. I'm not really into simulation games of pool, but if you are, apparently this one is one of the best. Apparently some video game players are so lazy that they only want to move one hand at a time. I'm not one of those people, but if you are and you like clickers, Realm Revolutions has been doing pretty well with 76% positive ratings and about 750 people playing it right now. Tiger Knight is an online multiplayer game that has a blend of action and strategy. In Tiger Knight, there's 3 different game modes to choose from. There's a PvP mode where you get to control up to 40 soldiers, a duel mode where you can control your general and go 16 versus 16, or a co-op mode where you get to play against the AI. Of course, with the game being free and in early access, there are quite a few people that have problems with the client and some of the UI. Hyper Universe looks more like my cup of tea and to others as well, as it was the most popular Steam game that was free with 108,000 people trying it. And if you haven't heard anything about it, basically it's a MOBA mixed with a 2D side-scroll fighter, something like Awesome Knots tried to do. Most people say they like it better than Awesome Knots but are having some problems with lag. Another Steam free card game has been released, but at least this one has a little bit of creativity. Apparently it's like Hearthstone with some cheesy kung fu lines and some great violent action animations. It's called Martial Arts Brutality, and if you like card games, then it's maybe at least worth trying out. The last free game to be released on Steam that was at least popular enough to make this list was Tactical Monsters Rumble Arena. Now this game isn't terribly exciting, it's essentially just a port over from a mobile game, but if you like strategy card games with a board game on it as well, then you'll probably enjoy this game. If you were one of those kids that dreamed of making money testing out games for developers, well now you can, except for, well, now you have to pay for these games to help them test it. My Time in Portia, even though just hit early access, is actually already doing pretty well. It almost hit a 10,000 player peak as it was released and has an 88% positive rating on Steam. This game reminds me a bit of Stardew Valley, but of course is in a 3D mode, but has similar parallels where you're running your own farm, building your own house, crafting things, and exploring mines and battling underground. People have also stated if you like the Harvest Moon game, then this would be a great game to play as well. Even the negative reviews on Steam are saying it's a great game, a great concept, except for, well, at $20, being an early access game, it's probably not worth $20 at this amount of content, so really only buy this game if you want to be a participant in testing and helping the developers to complete the game. The encouraging thing about this early access game is that the developers are literally posting every single day to Steam with different patches and updates to the game. Funny enough, there is another farming simulation game that has come out at the same time almost, called Staxel. This one is seemingly more like Minecraft and Animal Crossing is the comparisons I've seen, a little more sandbox to it than my time at Porsche. While this game has some promising features, there are a lot more negative reviews and a lot more concerning things about it. Some, however, have stated it's their new favorite game. Life is Feudal MMO has now been released in early access on Steam as of January 12th, and oh boy, it is not doing too hot with a 43% positive rating on Steam, one of the worst I've seen. But however, I am talking about it because there are still thousands of people playing it even right now as we speak. This old age kingdom era MMO has tons of potential with its huge crafting and giant world. The only problem is that there are tons of bugs. So many people are complaining that it's unplayable, and hopefully one day they fix it, but for right now, I would stay far away. SOS has to be my early access game that I would be most excited about its concept. However, at a $30 price tag, it seems like it could be one of those games that ends development early, they stop all production, and you lose out on quite a big amount of cash. In this game, you're dropped off on an island with 15 other players, only 3 of you are going to escape. You have to use either fighting or you can team up with other players and try to create alliances. While it already does have a 76% positive rating on Steam, which is encouraging, however, there are people saying that the devs are not the best and have only taken this game downhill since the alpha and beta testing. Freeman Guerrilla Warfare is our last early access game, and this concept also intrigues me. It's almost like a Mountain Blade, except for now you have guns. So there's real-time strategy, RPG elements, and then you also get to take over for a single person in the war with weapons. It has just been put onto Steam as of February 1st, but it already has 93% positive reviews out of 182. However, it hasn't been out enough days to really give it a good idea of what it will become. Right now though, it is 20% off for $12, so it's not too much of a cash grab. Now it's time to quickly go over those cheap Steam games that are new that only require a $10 bill or less. Up first is Mobile Empire, a game that is a simulation of building up a company that sells cell phones. This game doesn't necessarily tickle my fancy, but if you're into simulation games, this could be a good cheap one. However, some people have said it could have used more time in early access, adding a tutorial and other features. Also, someone said this game is half non-English. I haven't found anything else to support that, but just beware. This next game was so inappropriate that I had to blur out the trailer. It is called Genital Jousting. I don't really want to go over it too much, but if you want a game that's a little inappropriate but comedic and adventure, then you could go check it out on your own time. Battle Royales have become super popular everywhere with Fortnite, PUBG, and even a little bit of H1Z1 still. This game is a trainer for those types of games where you can play offline and single player against AI. It's not the best developed game and only 50% people like it, but what do you expect for only $3.99? Next up for $3.99 is Rusty Lake Paradise. This is a point and click adventure game with some puzzles and a bit of a horror element to it, so only buy this if you want nightmares and you're okay with a game that's only point and click, but if you are, it is well loved and well received. With developers really only making good multiplayer shooter games, it's hard to find a single player or a co-op shooter, but The Walking Zombie Dead City is just that, and for $2.99 it is a decent game. Now, of course, it's not the most amazing thing ever, but for $2.99 you can play with your friends, have some fun, and enjoy this little shooter. My next segment is the best bang for your buck. This is simply calculated by price of the game versus how many average playtime hours this game has. Of course, take this with a grain of salt because these are all newly released games, so it's hard to tell how much actual playtime these games have from its players. If you are someone that really cares about getting the most value for the purchase though, then these games, Mobile Empire, Subnautica, Life is Feudal, Rusty Lake Paradise, and Nantucket are the best bang for your buck. Of course, the only game on this list that we have not explored yet is Nantucket, which is a strategy simulation RPG game along the sea. 80% of people on Steam liked this seafaring RPG. However, a lot of people did say the combat at the end gets very grinding, which is perhaps one of the reasons why it has such a high playtime. And that's not necessarily a positive thing. Hi, I'm Luke McLaughlin. Please commit to not wasting our innocent friends like Mr. Jackson.